It was supposed to be a quiet evening. The kind of night where memories sit heavier than food. Marcus Turner, a decorated Army veteran, walked into the upscale restaurant wearing his worn-out leather jacket and that signature calm pride only soldiers carried. The bell above the door chimed as he entered. Heads turned. Conversations paused. He gave a polite nod to the hostess and asked for a table by the window, the one facing the streetlights that reminded him of his deployment nights overseas. Before we start, hit that like and subscribe button, then comment where you're watching from. Your support keeps these powerful stories coming. But the waiter, a tall, pale man with slick back hair and a fake smile, didn't bother hiding his sneer. "We're full tonight," he said sharply, glancing at Marcus's boots. "You might want to try somewhere more casual." Marcus looked around. Half the tables were empty. He said quietly, "I made a reservation. Under Turner." The waiter smirked. "Right. Must have been a mistake." Marcus's jaw tightened, but he stayed calm. Years of discipline had trained him for worse. "All right. Maybe you could just check?" But the waiter leaned closer, voice dripping with arrogance. "Look, man, this place has a certain standard. You understand?" Marcus understood perfectly. He'd seen the look before, in checkpoints overseas, in offices back home, and now in a restaurant where his money was apparently the wrong color. He smiled faintly, the kind of smile that hides pain and rage all at once. "You're right," he said. "There is a standard." The waiter folded his arms. "Glad we're on the same page." Marcus nodded. "Yeah. Service and respect. I just haven't seen either yet." People nearby began to whisper. A few customers shifted uncomfortably, but no one spoke up. The manager peeked from the back but didn't intervene. The waiter, now emboldened, crossed his arms. "Maybe you should leave before we have a problem." Marcus exhaled slowly, stood a little taller, and took out his phone. He tapped record. "Just want to make sure this problem stays on camera," he said calmly. The waiter's smirk faltered. "You threatening me?" "No," Marcus said evenly. "Just protecting myself." At that moment, a woman sitting nearby whispered to her date, "Isn't that Marcus Turner? The guy from the news? The veteran who saved his entire unit?" The waiter froze. "Wait, you're—" Marcus said nothing. He just looked him dead in the eye. But before the situation could diffuse, another server stepped in, whispering something into the waiter's ear. He rolled his eyes and walked away, muttering, "I don't care who he is. Shouldn't be here anyway." Marcus sat quietly at an empty table. He didn't want drama, just a meal. But humiliation stung deeper than hunger. He looked out the window, remembering dusty deserts, cold nights, and the faces of men who didn't care about skin color, only survival. Minutes passed. No menu. No service. The manager avoided his gaze. Then, the sound of heavy boots echoed from the entrance. The bell above the door rang again. A group of uniformed men and women, his old unit, marched in together, laughing, talking loud. Their presence filled the room. And at the front of the group, Sergeant Kelly, a white man with a buzz cut and booming voice, spotted Marcus immediately. "Turner. You son of a gun." The restaurant went silent. The waiter's smirk melted away. Marcus stood, grinning for the first time that night. "Didn't expect you here, Sarge." Kelly clapped him on the shoulder. "Heard you were in town. Thought we'd surprise you. Hope you're hungry, we're buying." The waiter stuttered. Why you're together?" Kelly narrowed his eyes. "Together? He's my brother. We've been through hell together. Got a problem with that?" The waiter's face flushed red. "And no, of course not." "Good," Kelly said, turning to his team. "Because this man saved my life. Saved all our lives." The room erupted with murmurs. Marcus stood silently, his posture steady, his calm even stronger now that truth stood beside him. Kelly looked around. "Who runs this place?" The manager emerged, trying to smile. "Ah, sir, welcome. We didn't realize." Kelly cut him off. "Didn't realize what? That you just insulted a war hero? That you treated a man like dirt because you couldn't see past your own bias?" The waiter mumbled something under his breath, but one of the soldiers, a tall woman with a firm gaze, stepped forward. "Say it again. Out loud." He didn't. The manager stammered, "Please, let's not make a scene." Kelly laughed coldly. "Oh, the scene's already made. And trust me, it's about to go viral." He turned to Marcus. "You got that video still rolling?" Marcus smiled faintly. "Every second." The manager's face went pale. "Please, let's discuss this privately." Kelly stepped forward, towering over him. "Privately? You humiliated my brother in public. You fix it the same way." Every customer's eyes were locked on the scene. Some took out their phones. The waiter's arrogance had evaporated completely. Finally, Marcus spoke. I didn't come here to cause trouble. I came for dinner. But tonight reminded me of something. He turned toward the crowd, his voice calm but powerful. Respect is free. But some people still can't afford to give it. The soldiers nodded. Kelly smiled proudly. Couldn't have said it better. The manager, desperate, offered free meals, apologies, anything to save face. But Marcus just shook his head. Keep your apology. Just make sure the next person who walks in here gets treated like a person. The group turned to leave. But just before they stepped out, Marcus looked back at the waiter and said softly, "Next time you judge someone, make sure you know who you're serving." The door swung shut behind them, leaving the restaurant in stunned silence. By morning, the video was everywhere. Headlines read, "Veteran humiliated by waiter, then his army unit walks in." The restaurant's page flooded with backlash. The owner issued a public statement, firing the waiter and pledging new training. But for Marcus, it wasn't about revenge. It was about reminding the world what dignity looked like, quiet, calm, and unshakable. Days later, Marcus sat with Kelly at a diner. "Guess you made your point," Kelly said, chuckling. Marcus sipped his coffee. "Not me. The truth did." Kelly grinned. "So, what's next?" Marcus looked out the window, watching the sunrise. "Something bigger. Something that lasts." Kelly raised a brow. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" Marcus smiled, sliding a folder across the table, a document labeled Veterans Rising Initiative, National Project. Kelly whistled. "You're starting it, huh?" Marcus nodded. "No one gets left behind. Not in war, not at home." The scene faded with Marcus staring into the horizon, his reflection shimmering in the glass, stronger, prouder, and free. Then, his phone buzzed. An unknown number. A text message. It read, "You think one video changes the system? You just started a war." Marcus frowned, his calm returning to steel. He whispered, "Then I guess it's time to fight again." The story spread like wildfire. By sunrise, the entire city was talking about the veteran who stood tall against discrimination. News outlets called it the Dignity Dinner. The restaurant's name trended for all the wrong reasons, and the waiter's face became a symbol of arrogance exposed. But Marcus Turner wasn't celebrating, not yet. He never cared for fame or vengeance. What he wanted was change, real, lasting change. That morning, Marcus received a call from the restaurant owner, a man named Richard Lowell, wealthy, polished, and nervous. "Mr. Turner," he began, his voice tight, "I want to sincerely apologize. What happened last night was unacceptable. Please allow me to make amends. We'd like to honor you publicly at our establishment." Marcus paused. "Honor me?" "Yes," Richard said quickly. "A press event. Cameras, a formal apology, free meals for veterans, the whole thing. You'd be the face of it." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "The face of your damage control, you mean?" Richard went silent. "I'm not interested in being your cleanup story," Marcus continued. "You don't fix racism with a ribbon cutting." Richard sighed. "Mr. Turner, please. I'm just trying to make this right." Marcus's voice stayed calm. "Then make it right for the next man who walks through your door, not for me." He hung up. But deep down, he knew it wasn't over. 2 days later, Marcus got another call, this time from Sergeant Kelly. "You might want to turn on Channel 5, brother." Marcus did. And there it was, Richard Lowell, the restaurant owner, standing before reporters, claiming he personally invited Marcus to a reconciliation event, but Marcus refused. The narrative had been twisted. Cameras caught Richard saying, "We tried to make peace, but some people prefer to stay angry." Marcus's stomach turned. So that's how he wants to play it. Kelly growled through the phone. "He's painting you as the villain, man." Marcus exhaled slowly. "Then we'll remind him what the truth looks like." The next day, Marcus showed up at the restaurant again, this time not as a customer, but with his entire unit behind him. Cameras were already there, reporters flashing microphones. The same waiter stood near the door, face pale as paper. Richard, confident in his suit, turned to see Marcus approaching and forced a smile. "Mr. Turner. Glad you changed your mind." Marcus smiled faintly. "Didn't. Just came to return something." He held up a small envelope, inside were photos. Real photos. The ones showing his unit rescuing civilians overseas, standing shoulder to shoulder, white, black, Latino, Asian, no color except unity. Marcus stepped closer to Richard, his voice firm. "You talk about peace on camera, but your people humiliated me for the color of my skin. You want to make this right? Then show the same courage you fake for the press." Richard's smile faltered. "Mr. Turner, this isn't the place." Marcus cut in. "This is exactly the place. Because you built this place on the idea that some people don't belong here." The crowd murmured. The cameras rolled. Richard looked cornered. Marcus turned to the reporters. They wanted to turn this into a PR stunt. But here's the truth, I didn't fight overseas for free meals or photo ops. I fought for dignity. For every man and woman who gets judged before they even speak. He looked right at Richard. And I'll keep fighting, even here. Kelly stepped beside him, eyes burning. You're looking at men and women who bled for this country. And if you think a fake apology will silence us, you don't know what honor means. One by one, the soldiers behind them stepped forward, not shouting, not angry, but standing tall. The cameras caught every second. The image was powerful, veterans of all backgrounds standing together in silent unity. Richard tried to speak, but his voice cracked. The weight of the moment crushed every excuse. I didn't mean for. Marcus raised a hand. Don't explain. Just learn. And with that, he turned to leave. But before he did, he stopped, looking at the waiter who had started it all. You remember the look you gave me that night? Marcus asked quietly. Keep it. Because one day, you'll see a man you judged standing higher than you ever dreamed. The waiter couldn't look him in the eye. Marcus and his unit walked out into the sunlight, leaving behind the chaos of cameras and questions. The video of the confrontation went viral again, only this time, it wasn't just about racism. It was about accountability, leadership, and strength through grace. Days later, Marcus received a letter, not from the restaurant, but from the city council. They wanted to partner with him on a new initiative, Veterans for Equality, a program promoting respect and fair treatment for veterans of all backgrounds. At the launch event, Marcus stood on stage before hundreds of people, veterans, families, students, reporters. He looked out at the faces before him and spoke from the heart. Some battles aren't fought overseas, he said softly. They're fought right here, in the way we treat each other. But every time we stand up for respect, we win a piece of that war. The crowd rose in applause. Kelly smiled from the front row. Later that night, Marcus stood outside alone, staring at the city lights. His phone buzzed. A text came through, unknown number. It read, "Powerful speech today. But remember, not everyone wants change." Marcus narrowed his eyes, reading it twice. Then another message arrived, "You're making enemies, soldier. Some of us like things the old way." He looked around the quiet parking lot, the glow of the streetlights reflecting off his jacket. He exhaled slowly and murmured, "Then they picked the wrong man to scare." He pocketed the phone, squared his shoulders, and walked off into the night, the same way he'd always faced every battle, head high, heart steady, ready for the next fight. The end. Comment below if you know you enjoyed the story. Also don't forget to follow, subscribe and turn on the notification button for more stories coming up.